Finally, we have some sense of peace in Gaza after Palestinians faced 2 years of sustained Israeli savagery and barbarism that led to the brutal massacre of hundreds of thousands of innocent men, women, children, and babies. Yes, I say hundreds of thousands of Palestinians murdered because that's how many people Israeli demons have killed in the 2 years of genocide. The official figure of over 66,000 may just be a tip of the iceberg. Palestinians have begun returning to the ruins of what used to be their homes until Israeli terrorists launched their genocidal campaign 2 years ago. They kept slaughtering unarmed and defenseless people and inflicting unimaginable collective punishment on Gaza's 2 million population with complete impunity. This was the first genocide which was being live streamed on our mobile devices, and yet the Western powers and their media outlets did everything in their capacity to hide Israeli crimes. And now that there has been a pause on the Israeli atrocities, the BBC and its staff members who scavenge on our license fee money to earn their livelihood have begun showing their editorial dishonesty once again. Just watch this report by Lucy Williamson. She mentions the slaughtering of a child, but refuses to name his killer, and then uses the victim's mother to blame Hamas for his killing.
In Gaza City too, people arrived as soon as the army withdrew. Mohammed found the path to his old front door in Sheikh Radwan, despite the path and the door having gone. Tucked deep inside the wreckage, time capsules from his old life. A jacket, perfectly preserved in a suitcase. A familiar shirt.
The first moment I saw the house was very difficult. It brought back memories of my late father, my late mother, my siblings and my childhood. I honestly wish I never had to experience this moment. It was indescribable, as if I was dreaming.
Going home is hard to imagine for the An-Najjar family. Even their tent in the west of Khan Yunis is emptier than it was before. Less than a week before the ceasefire, their 11-year-old son, Marman, was killed collecting firewood in the city centre. His mother, Harish, said she doesn't sleep and cries for him constantly.
This isn't a moment of joy. There is no joy at all. I can't believe it was after Mu'min was killed that Hamas agreed to the deal. Anyone whose heart isn't broken can feel joy today, but no joy can enter a broken heart.
And who can forget this chap, Clive Myrie, crying while presenting a show on the Russian attack on Ukraine? These grifters are happy to survive on our money, but will not adhere to their professional ethics. The BBC and its reputation have been the biggest casualty during the Israeli genocide. There is no denying the truth. I can't see this disgraceful organization ever redeeming itself. The stain of Palestinians' blood will always remain on this organization. As someone who covers underreported and often misrepresented stories, I have seen just how easily the truth can get distorted depending on where you get your news from. In a time when honest journalism feels increasingly rare, I was genuinely surprised by Ground News. It's a one-of-a-kind app and a website built to make reading the news more transparent. It pulls together thousands of articles from around the world and lets you compare how different outlets report on the same event. You get side-by-side coverage along with visual breakdowns of political bias, reliability, and who actually owns each outlet. Take an example of the Houthi stories that I covered recently. Right away, I can see that over 30 news outlets reported on it, with most of the coverage coming from the right. If I scroll down, I can see every outlet that reported on this story and compare coverage. You can see how headlines also change due to these outlets' biases. I use Ground News myself. That's because in a sea of noise, it actually helps you cut through it. No spin, no agenda, just the full story so you can decide. Ground News and I partnered to give you 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. This is the plan I use to see through media narratives, and you can get it yourself at ground.news/Janta or scan the QR code on screen to support an independent news platform that's working to make the media landscape more transparent. Meanwhile, Trump is all set to visit the illegal settler colony on Sunday ahead of the deadline for Hamas to release all Israeli captives as part of the peace deal. This was after Trump faced a double setback from the Nobel Committee on Friday. Much to his disappointment, he didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize that he was desperately hoping for. And then the Nobel Committee said this. Essentially, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee chair said that just because Trump and his supporters launched their propaganda to get the US president the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't mean the committee also agreed with their definition of Trump's achievement. And then the committee chair paid special attention to people of courage and integrity. Ouch! Have a listen to this.
U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Israel has now released the list of 250 Palestinian hostages held in Israeli concentration camps. This has shocked Hamas as they expected Israel to release close to 2,000 Palestinian hostages. The list also doesn't have the name of Marwan Barghouti, who is widely considered to be the face of the Palestinian resistance against Israeli occupation. Now, this is going to cause some problem, as I'm told that even Trump's Jewish envoy for everything, Steve Witkoff, has promised to raise this issue with war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. It's also not clear if Hamas will agree to disarm themselves. All this will be clearer in the next couple of days. Meanwhile, a former Israeli negotiator, yes, an Israeli, not Palestinian negotiator, has exposed Netanyahu and his Western backers by revealing that Hamas had agreed to the same peace deal, exactly the same peace deal last year in May. But terrorist Netanyahu rejected the offer as he wanted his savagery in Gaza to continue. And he was supported by his Western slaves such as the US, the UK and the EU. Listen to Gershon Baskin in his Channel 4 interview here.
Well, in May of 2024, President Biden then presented what I thought was a bad deal. It was a partial deal that would not end the war and would not bring all the hostages home. So in July, August, hostage families approached me and asked me if I could help negotiate a better deal. I contacted Hamas interlocutors that I've been in contact with now for 18 years and asked if Hamas was willing to make a full comprehensive deal at that time. I spoke to Israeli military people and asked them how long it would take Israel to withdraw from Gaza, and they told me 3 weeks. So I told Hamas, would you be willing to make a deal that in 3 weeks the war would end, all the hostages would be released, more than are there right now, and Israel would withdraw from Gaza. There'd be security guarantees and other elements of the deal, and Hamas said yes. After the leadership approved it, and I received it in writing in Arabic and in English, transmitted it to the Israeli negotiators who told me that it was a great deal, but the prime minister refuses to end the war. I tried to get the Americans directly engaged. The deal went to the desk of President Biden, but his main point man on the negotiations, Brett McGurk, refused to look at it. His own negotiators told me that they were very frustrated. I was invited to Qatar and presented it to the Qataris, but they all told me that they couldn't do anything unless the Americans bought into it, which didn't happen. So the deal that was being done today could have been done last September.
No wonder even people like Tucker Carlson has begun calling out the evil agenda of Netanyahu and Israeli poodles in the US Congress and Senate.
I think Bibi is completely evil. Think about it, I'm not interested. I'm very interested in how American leaders could betray their own country. That enrages me.
This is what the Gaza genocide has done to Israel's reputation globally. Even people on the right in the US politics now know the devilish design of this illegal settler colony and their terrorist rulers. I will leave you with this amazing clip of British Green Party leader Zach Polanski, himself a proud Jew, who minced no words on BBC's Question Time last night when he exposed the Israeli genocide and the Western complicity.
I'm Jewish, and the reason why that's relevant is I'm one of 5 Jewish people to lead a British political party in the last 100 years. So I take anti-Semitism really seriously, in the same way that I take Islamophobia seriously, because I recognise when they come for one minority group, they come for all of us. And I was really proud of Shrewsbury from the conversation we had earlier about migration and integration, because I think what we're hearing here about the compassion and the kindness towards the other reflects the very best of being British. You can be, in fact, the only way to be morally consistent is to condemn what happened on October 7th and the terrorist attack against civilians, and condemn the genocide in Palestine. Because as a Jewish man, I feel the genocide very, very deeply. Imagine what it must be like to be a Muslim man and to see who could be your family and your relatives, to see how that's being behaved. Now, I want everyone to treat politics with sensitivity, with nuance, to bring kindness and compassion. I think the woman up there, I think you spoke really powerfully earlier about bringing...
Can I just say, I'm a Muslim, and you're calling me a fascist. Are you going to extend that courtesy to me?
You absolutely are a fascist. You're from a far-right party.
That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider becoming part of it. Details are there in the description of this video. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.